Now, when it comes to DRA, wait, pause. Sorry, I mean when it comes to Young Thug. But listen, y'all, I gotta be brutally honest. After sitting through an hour and 14 minutes of Young Thug's shiny new project, UY SCUTI, while staring at this wild cover art, track after track after track, we need to talk. So do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe, because if you're anything like me, you're ready for the circus act, this chatty patty routine, this radio shock jock cosplay to finally clock out. And with every like you leave, we inch one step closer to that moment. Now back to UY SCUTI. Give me a second. Actually, no, give me a whole minute. Because rarely does this happen, but I don't even know how to process what I just heard. From the very second my timeline dropped that album cover in my face, I was already side-eyeing. We'll get to what it means later, but let me just say, I cannot believe we're actually here talking about this, looking at this together. And then, as if the cover wasn't enough, the rabbit hole went deeper with the intro track Ninja. Honestly, I don't even know how to describe it. Just do yourself one favor, whatever you do not play that thing out loud in public. From there, the chaos only kept spiraling. And the more I sat there, confused by these so-called creative decisions, the more I realized I had to pause and deliver this message. If UY SCUTI, and yes, an album with this cover, is really supposed to represent what hip-hop is about right now, if this is what's meant to carry the genre forward as a cultural movement and as the industry's backbone, then hip-hop would be, well, let's just say finished. Destroyed. Beyond repair. You get the idea. Because think about it. After everything Young Thug's been through, sitting in the middle of one of the biggest free speech trials hip-hop has ever seen, all the drama before Drake, all the leaked phone calls, the messy fallout with Ghana, and everyone else in a circle. After all that, wouldn't you expect him to come back with something powerful? Something career-defining? Something that at least speaks on the mess he just lived through? But nope. Instead, we got an album wrapped up in a joke of a cover, stuffed with Fortnite references, recycled interview clips turned into wannabe hits, and tracks designed to be meme bait. It's like Thug was less focused on music and more on trying to manufacture a viral moment. Newsflash, Jeffrey. The industry's moved on. That rich flex meme moment Drake had? Lightning in a bottle. Nobody's been able to replicate it since. And your attempt here? It ain't it. Because let's be real, no amount of Facetune, no amount of tweaking your album cover can hide the fact that the music itself just doesn't hold up. And I'll break that down in a second. But first, let's circle back to the album's biggest trait, this cover. Hip-hop used to give us Nas, Eminem, Jay-Z. And now we're looking at this? A cover that screams publicity stunt louder than it does artistic vision. No deep thought behind it, just buzz, clout, and clickbait. So if the only reason we're listening to over an hour of this album is because of rage bait tactics, then yeah, hip-hop would be, well, you know what I want to say. And sure, there are a few moments scattered in there that sound decent, but overall, it feels like Young Thug is parodying himself. Like he's playing a character of Young Thug instead of just being an artist. Anytime there's a glimpse of depth, he throws in a random, goofy moment so memeable it derails the whole track. The end result? It doesn't feel like an album. It feels like a skit, like a twisted experiment, like a rap episode of Black Mirror. Because, let's keep it real, this album dropped at one of the most critical points in Thug's entire career. So who, exactly, let him cook and actually put this out? Maybe the drama and leaked calls behind the scenes blew up more bridges than we thought. Maybe the worst fallout was with Future. If we're being generous, maybe this was supposed to be a completely different record, heavy with Future collabs, and all that tension forced a last-minute switch. That would explain why Future only shows up on the pre-release single. But unless 15 tracks vanished into thin air, I don't know what else to tell you. Because if this is what Thug's been working on for over a year, then yeah, we're in a rap nightmare. I mean, really. We went from goofy Fortnite songs to T.I. randomly sounding sharp again to Young Thug and Mariah the Scientist serving up whatever that was. The pacing? All over the place. The sequencing? A disaster. It feels like they tossed the track list into a blender and just prayed it would work. And with one of the worst sequencing jobs I've heard in years, plus having to keep looking back at that cover, questioning reality itself, it's giving major disappointment. This is the guy who gave us Jeffrey. Now, he's giving us this? Even when we break down the tracks, past the gimmicks, past the viral bait, there's just nothing here. The music doesn't even hold up on its own. Take I'm So Dope, for example. Decent idea for a track, sure. But Thug fumbles it completely with an unbearable hook and non-stop yelling nobody asked for. And what sealed it for me? The very next track, Pardon My Back. Word is, it only made the cut last minute when a Lil Baby feature got cleared before midnight. And guess what? Lil Baby ended up delivering one of the best verses on the entire project. When Lil Baby is the MVP of your album, it's like Brian Scalabrine being the star player of your NBA team. No shade, but come on. Put it all together. The gimmicks, the chaos, the lack of quality, and suddenly the confusion I felt at first turned into something worse. Sadness. Not because the music's emotional, but because this is what we're getting from someone of Young Thug's caliber. From the messy cover to the desperate attempts at virality to the hollow tracks, this feels less like a rap album and more like a parody of one. If you showed this to Tupac or Biggie and said, "This is where rap will be 52 years later," they'd look at you in pure disbelief. Because honestly, it's all a joke. And look, there's being funny in a clever way, like early Eminem, like Tyler, the Creator, like ODB. Then there's mocking the art form itself. And that's where Thug lost me. Back to this cover. The fact that the music isn't even the focus anymore says everything. Instead of trying to make something meaningful, Thug's thinking about how to tweak his appearance just enough to stir up buzz. That's it. No artistry. No substance. Just clout. And once you sit with the album and realize how empty it is, it gets exhausting. We've heard Kendrick. We've heard Tyler. We've heard Clips. We've heard Chance. We've heard real music this year. And then we've got Young Thug still playing catch-up with outdated antics. And listen, speaking of features, when your mandated Travis Scott and 21 Savage verses end up being the highlights of your project, that's a huge red flag. Same story as with Lil Baby. When the features are carrying the record, your own music isn't cutting it. This is especially disappointing because Thug's last two albums had at least some creativity and care behind them. Punk wasn't perfect, but it showed thought. Now, UY SCUTI? It's nothing more than a meme generator. A desperate attempt to revive the clout-chasing era in rap, louder and sloppier than ever before. At the end of the day, this record feels microwaved. Disposable. The kind of album that makes noise for a week and then disappears. The memes will fade, the timeline will move on, and all Thug will be left with is a dented legacy. Because real classics, Illmatic, Reasonable Doubt, Low End Theory, Purple Tape, Rodeo, DS2, they all had one thing that this doesn't. Good music. Iconic moments. Songs that last. Not cheap, temporary gimmicks. And with no true lead single, no standout track, and competition from rappers actually making great music, this album was doomed before it even dropped. Sure, the bundles will boost numbers a little. Maybe 60 to 85K first week, but after that, it'll slide down to 30K and vanish. Just like Lil Baby's flop era. So, let's call it for what it is. This album is a turning point, the clear moment where Young Thug's Cadillac went off the cliff. And if I'm going to be that person, which I guess I am, let's end with this. Once again, we have proof that you never go against Kendrick Lamar. Because every rapper who's tried, every single one of them has ended up crashing and burning. Meanwhile, Kendrick keeps making iconic covers, iconic albums, and iconic moments. No gimmicks. No Fortnite jokes. Just real music. And speaking of Kendrick beefs, if you want the full tea on the two rappers who hate him even more than Drake and Young Thug do, well, you know what to do. Check out the suggested video.